At 30 years old, Felix Underwood was stacking boxes in a warehouse for 12 hours a day, watching his dreams slip away, one paycheck at a time. But in just 18 months, this same man would be sitting in his penthouse overlooking Manhattan, checking his crypto portfolio worth over $3 million. What happened between those warehouse shifts and that penthouse view wasn't luck, wasn't inheritance, and it definitely wasn't some get-rich-quick scheme. It was a single decision that most people called crazy. A decision that would either destroy him financially or set him free forever. And by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly why Felix's transformation isn't just possible for him. It is possible for you too. Felix's morning started at 4:30 a.m. with the sound of his neighbors crying baby bleeding through paper-thin apartment walls. He'd roll out of a mattress on the floor, throw on the same worn-out work clothes, and drive his beat-up Honda Civic to a job that was slowly killing his spirit. The warehouse was a concrete tomb where dreams went to die, where men twice his age warned him about getting comfortable, about accepting that this was just how life worked for people like them. Felix would spend his lunch break scrolling through social media, watching college friends post about promotions, vacations, and achievements that felt like they belonged to a different universe. His bank account rarely broke 4 digits. His credit cards were maxed out, and every month felt like a race against bills he couldn't afford to pay. But Felix had something that his circumstances couldn't crush: an insatiable curiosity about technology and a burning belief that there had to be another way. During those lonely lunch breaks, he wasn't just scrolling aimlessly. He was reading, learning, absorbing everything he could about emerging technologies. And in December 2022, while most people were focused on holiday shopping, Felix stumbled across an article about Bitcoin that would change everything. The article wasn't about price predictions or technical analysis. It was about financial sovereignty, about individuals taking control of their economic destiny in a world where traditional systems had failed them. For the first time in years, Felix felt something he'd almost forgotten existed: hope. The numbers seemed impossible. Bitcoin had gone from pennies to thousands of dollars. People were talking about life-changing wealth, about escaping the rat race, about financial freedom that seemed like pure fantasy to someone making $15 an hour. Felix's first instinct was skepticism. This had to be too good to be true, another internet scam designed to separate desperate people from their money. But the more he researched, the more he realized this wasn't just about making money. This was about a fundamental shift in how the world thought about value, about currency, about who controlled the financial system. And for someone who felt completely powerless in his own financial life, that message resonated like nothing ever had before. Felix spent 3 weeks consuming everything he could find about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. He watched YouTube videos until his eyes burned, read white papers he barely understood, and joined online communities where people spoke a language that felt foreign but exciting. The learning curve was brutal, the terminology overwhelming, but something deep inside him knew this was his chance. This was the opportunity he'd been unconsciously preparing for his entire life. But knowing about an opportunity and having the courage to act on it are two completely different things. The decision to invest came down to a single moment on a Friday night in January. Felix was sitting in his empty apartment looking at his bank statement, showing a balance of $843. Money he'd saved by eating ramen noodles for dinner and skipping social events he couldn't afford anyway. His family thought he was losing his mind. His mother begged him not to throw away his savings on internet money. His co-workers laughed and called it a scam. His girlfriend at the time gave him an ultimatum: her or this crazy Bitcoin obsession. But Felix had reached a point where the pain of staying the same had become greater than the fear of change. He invested $700, nearly everything he had. His hands were shaking as he completed his first Bitcoin purchase, knowing that he was either about to lose everything or take the first step toward a completely different life. That night he couldn't sleep. He checked the price every few minutes, watching his investment fluctuate by dollars that represented real money to someone in his position. But Felix had made a commitment that went beyond just buying Bitcoin. He had committed to learning everything he could about this new world, to understanding not just what he was investing in, but why it mattered. The next 18 months were an emotional roller coaster that would have broken most people. Felix watched his initial investment double, then triple, then crash back down to levels that made him question everything. There were nights when he'd lie awake calculating how much money he'd lost, how many extra shifts he'd have to work to make up the difference. His girlfriend left him, calling him obsessed and irresponsible. His family stopped asking about his internet money after the third or fourth crash. But Felix had developed something that most investors never achieve: a deep understanding of what he owned and why it was valuable beyond just the price. He wasn't just holding Bitcoin. He was studying market cycles, learning about blockchain technology, understanding macroeconomic factors that influenced cryptocurrency prices. He started following the smartest minds in the space, not the ones promising quick riches, but the ones who understood the fundamental technology and its long-term implications. Felix began to see patterns that others missed, opportunities that presented themselves to those patient enough to wait and educated enough to recognize them. The breakthrough came in March 2024. Felix had been dollar-cost averaging into Bitcoin for over a year, buying small amounts every week regardless of the price. His warehouse job had become secondary to his real education, the education he was giving himself about digital assets, market psychology, and financial independence. When Bitcoin began its historic run toward new all-time highs, Felix wasn't surprised. He had been preparing for this moment, positioning himself for this opportunity, while most people were still trying to figure out what cryptocurrency even was. But Felix's success wasn't just about buying Bitcoin and holding it. He had diversified into other cryptocurrencies, learned about DeFi protocols, and even started a small consulting business helping other working-class people understand cryptocurrency investing. His warehouse supervisor position, which he'd finally earned after 2 years, was paying him $22 an hour. But his cryptocurrency portfolio was generating more money in a single day than he used to make in a month. The transformation wasn't just financial. It was psychological, emotional, and spiritual. By December 2024, Felix's portfolio had crossed the $3 million mark. He quit his warehouse job on a Tuesday morning, walked into his supervisor's office, and gave his 2 weeks' notice with a calm confidence that surprised everyone, including himself. He wasn't angry or bitter about the years he'd spent in that warehouse. Those years had taught him the value of hard work, the importance of persistence, and the desperation that comes from feeling trapped in circumstances beyond your control. But more importantly, those years had given him the motivation to change his life when the opportunity presented itself. Felix's story isn't unique because he got lucky with Bitcoin. It's unique because he had the courage to act when others were paralyzed by fear, the discipline to educate himself when others were looking for shortcuts, and the patience to hold through volatility when others were panic selling. He understood that cryptocurrency wasn't just about making money. It was about taking control of his financial future in a world where traditional paths to wealth had become increasingly difficult for ordinary people. Today, Felix lives in that Manhattan penthouse, but he hasn't forgotten where he came from. He still wakes up early, not because he has to, but because he wants to. He spends his mornings reading about new developments in cryptocurrency, identifying the next opportunities that could change lives the way Bitcoin changed his. He started a YouTube channel where he shares his knowledge with people who are exactly where he was 3 years ago, working jobs they hate, living paycheck to paycheck, wondering if there's something better waiting for them. The most important lesson Felix learned wasn't about cryptocurrency. It was about himself. He learned that the biggest risk isn't losing money on an investment. It's spending your entire life wondering what would have happened if you'd had the courage to try. He learned that financial freedom isn't about having enough money to buy anything you want. It's about having enough money to choose how you spend your time. And he learned that the difference between people who change their lives and people who stay stuck is not intelligence, luck, or connections. It's the willingness to act when opportunity presents itself. Felix's transformation from warehouse worker to digital millionaire proves that cryptocurrency is not just for tech experts or Wall Street professionals. It's for anyone willing to educate themselves, take calculated risks, and persist through the inevitable challenges that come with any significant change. His story is happening right now, all around the world, as ordinary people discover the extraordinary potential of digital assets to transform their financial futures. The question isn't whether cryptocurrency will continue to create life-changing wealth. It's whether you'll be positioned to benefit when it does. Felix's journey started with a single decision: to invest $700 and commit to learning everything he could about this new technology. Your journey could start today, with the decision to educate yourself about the opportunities that exist right now in the cryptocurrency space. If Felix's story resonates with you, if you're tired of watching other people build wealth while you struggle to pay bills, if you're ready to take control of your financial future, then make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell. Because the next story we share could be about your transformation, your journey from where you are now to where you want to be. The opportunity is here, the technology is proven, and the only question remaining is whether you'll have the courage to act on it.